Hello everyone and welcome back to Rift News, the show that keeps you updated on things surrounding League of Legends. Maybe except for esports. Today we got some big news and small updates, so let's start from the bottom. Outside of the regular balancing and changing champion kits, we've also got some champion updates coming in from the PBE. It seems like Cho'Gath is finally getting his spell effects update. These new effects include everything from his Q, W, E, ultimate, and even passive. Of course, his other skins also received this update, and surprisingly, even Nightmare Cho'Gath got it. Now would be a good time to also mention that with this year's Lunar Revel, rotating game modes changed the way they work. Riot noticed that people enjoyed modes such as the Star Guardian Invasion and the Hunt of the Blood Moon, so they want to make more of these in 2018. Currently, they are working on creating better tools for easier map development. I'm guessing something like Riot's own private map editor. And with that, they want to focus on two things: delivering fun and better modes for events, and experiment more with classic modes such as Ascension to give them new life. The more noticeable change, however, is that they are moving away from a rotating game mode being up with every patch, and more towards a schedule that would guarantee higher quality experience. With that said, the older game modes such as All Random Earth, One for All, and others like these will still be up throughout the year. For the actual rotating game modes, we currently know that Blood Moon will be up during 8.3 and One for All will be up for 8.6. And before we hop onto the main events, there's one more thing. Riot's merch store launched their Sweetheart Valentine's merch. This includes new keychains, a pack of 10 gift cards, and 2 versions of a Tibbers plushie. On that note, some of you may have seen that the Chinese store is also offering Rakan's and Xayah's wristband jewelry. The store confirmed that around September, Xayah and Rakan will have their dedicated moment, and these wristbands will be included. And now, onto the things you've all been waiting for. Let's start with the one most of you already know about. Annie's teasers finally escalated when we got a 6-minute long cinematic story, and an updated bio on top of it. If you'd like to see Annie's full story, the video is already up on our channel. However, for those of you who have already seen it, Riot also released an interesting Nexus post about the creation of this cinematic. It is obvious that the style of this cinematic is very unique. That's because this is the outcome of Riot coming up with a new way of animating. It all began in 2012, when Riot released MoGraphs for the first time. MoGraphs are motion graphics. And of course, here we are talking about login screens. Later, one of the art directors asked a simple question. Would it be possible to use these MoGraphs for a full story? The problem was that Riot wasn't using methods that could support a movie. You see, in a normal animation, you'd have the animator draw frame by frame and then play them together. Riot's login screens were first drawn as a normal picture, and only after that they isolated the character from the background and blurred and stretched them to give them the illusion of movement. This is not how you animate a movie. You can't draw the scenes first and then animate them. The process has to be fluent from the beginning. Apparently, it took the art department a lot of time to convince themselves that they can pull it off, but in the end they managed to come up with a new way of dealing with it. First, they had to pick a character. Riot Pasta Bomb said they were thinking about Zed and Misfortune, but other teams were already working on other things for them. When Riot Pasta Bomb and the motion graphics team looked at Annie, they didn't think she was a big enough character to support a story. She was too simple, an evil girl, that's it. But instead of abandoning her, they started thinking about the ways she discovered her powers. That's how the idea of her cinematic was born. They put together the storyboard and they played Riot's Orb of Winter to set the mood. If you don't know it, this is the soundtrack. Then they got the green light to keep going. This is where the team started to look at the visual side. A big inspiration were black and white pictures. They wanted the cinematic to have high contrast for dramatic feel. They also wanted to have a sequence where Annie had lucid dreams. These would be flashbacks of her sister playing with the butterfly. So they combined the dramatic look and the lucid dreaming and they came up with this image. This was the main stepping stone for the entire piece. They wanted to preserve the feel of watercolors, so now it was all about finding the right way to execute it. You may have noticed that in the end the video isn't really fluent. That's because it is running at 8 frames per second. On top of that, the painting effect was achieved by running real-life footage through Adobe filters. So this fire, for example, was a real-life footage too. This is how all the effects were achieved. The candlelight was just a fire simulation, but then the frame rate was slowed and the same filters applied. There is one more thing worth mentioning. For the face, they also tried motion capture, but in a 2D scene it didn't really look lifelike. The problem was that a 2D face couldn't be slapped into a seemingly 3D scene. Angling the face correctly and matching the reflecting light is a very difficult job, so in the end they had to use 3D animating as well. The final product was made by using 3D models with hand-painted textures on them, and some overpaint to cover it up. Riot also released a short behind-the-scenes video where they show this process in action. Now let's jump into the champion roadmap. In total we have 5 teasers for 5 different champions. It starts with a new marksman. It seems like it's going to be a high risk and high reward champion, just like the other short range carries like Vayne. But what's really important here is the picture and the wording. First of all, this is a Void Rift. You're not going to prove me otherwise. This is a Void Rift if I have ever seen one. So I immediately got suspicious. I got teased so many times and nothing came out of it. I almost refuse to believe that it is happening and that the Void is actually coming in. The first character I thought of was Kassadin's daughter. We recently got Swain to talk about her, and Kassadin's new lore also mentions her. This is why the wording is really important. We locked onto a marksman that rewards players who aren't afraid to hunt for the perfect opportunity, no matter where it takes them. This new champion's best players will go deep into enemy territory and thrive, while the weak players will perish, never to be heard from again. This feels like it is ripped from Kassadin's story. Going into enemy territory is talking about the rifts, and hunting for the perfect opportunity means hunting the void spawns. On top of that, it seems like writers are making fun of me on Twitter as well. So although my scars are deep and I don't forget false teasing, I am 80% sure we are actually getting Kassadin's daughter. Other teasers in this post include brand new Irelia with more interesting kit, which is something that was teased in a post from October 2017. However, Akali's visual update is a new one. Akali is one of the champions who either snowball or fall flat, so Riot wants to give her more flexibility. But on top of that, she's also getting visually reworked, so we can expect better model and abilities. They also said that her story will take similar approach to Gangplank, meaning that they don't want to rewrite her story but rather extend it. The post also mentioned Aatrox, which was delayed a little bit. We expected him earlier, but the team is taking their time to make sure he feels like the Darkin warlord wielding a bloodthirsty greatsword he's supposed to be. At the very bottom, we also got a teaser for something new. We don't know if this is a new champion or a visual rework, but we got a snowball. Now, the markings on the snowball tell me that this is either an Ionian champion or someone from the mountains near Targon. Other than that, we don't know much. My instincts are telling me that this might be the long-awaited Nunu update. And now onto the last part of the news. It's a beautiful day to be a lore nerd because Noxus got a massive story update. There is a story called The Principles of Strength that describes the overall theme of Noxus. But outside of that, we got brand new stories for Swain, Darius, LeBlanc and Katarina. So far, other Noxians are still held back. But Riot already confirmed that more Noxian stories will arrive throughout the year. The same thing happened with Zaun and Urgot. Urgot got released a little bit later. So we might get more stories for champions like Vladimir, Sion, Draven and Riven. If you don't like reading and you would like to see how Noxus works, Riot also released a video where they explain what's happening there. This is a very interesting video where they tackle the leadership of Noxus and even its logo, which was theorized to be based on the Darkin, and right now it feels like they explained it just to debunk that theory. But that's pretty much it for this episode of Rift News. By the time this is released, the next patch already hit live servers, so Lunar Revel and Swain might be already out. So feel free to go on Rampage and claim some land for the Empire. But that's it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, feel free to rate it and subscribe for more lore and news. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Discord if you'd like to chat. We're streaming almost daily, so go ahead and follow us on Twitch. The next episode of our lore show will be live this Sunday. Our merch and P.O.Box will be in the description. Obviously, massive shout out to our patrons, especially Lunar Borgif. Your generosity will not be forgotten. And with that, thank you all so much for being here and for your support. You know I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you come again.